Oh, that does smell good.
Whiff. I need you to take a whiff. You got to smell the notes.
That smells really good. That smells like the coffee Werther's.
I want to put my arm here. Thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Arrest it.
Okay.
So today we decided to do espresso martinis at 11 p.m.
Espresso.
No,
espresso. Nespresso.
Espresso. You're the type of person to say an espresso when you order it, huh?
Did you say X?
Anyways, I don't know why we decided espresso martini at 11:30 at night, but we're out here.
Hey.
And so listen,
espresso
I
martini.
didn't measure ingredients. I just went with like my heart. I went with what.
Okay.
I went in blindly, so we're gonna have a blind testing.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, here it is.
Okay. Cheers to episode 2.
Episode
baby.
2, Valentine's Day. Whoa. I don't know if there's more liquor
That's
or
pretty good,
espresso
though.
in there.
That's pretty good.
Let's try it again. Let's go for another one.
Let's go for a second sip.
What's it taste like?
It's giving.
I got it from TikTok. The recipe.
It tastes really good at first, and then you taste all the vodka.
The alcohol.
Yeah.
But it goes away. Like the aftertaste goes away.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Kind of like my memories as I continue to drink it.
Maybe I'll measure it next time. But actually, for the blind pour, that's pretty good. We did
all right. Woo.
espresso shots. We did Kahlua. We did a coffee liqueur. We did simple syrup.
Okay.
Shake it up.
So there's not real espresso in there.
Well, I don't have an espresso machine, so I just use my old coffee from this morning.
Low-key shade? Low-key wants to buy an espresso machine?
Yeah. But I use my old coffee from this morning.
Okay.
But it works.
I'm going to go for another one.
Okay. You're not a quitter.
It's not getting better, but...
I think it's good. It's strong, but it's good.
It's great. I appreciate the effort.
Anyways.
All right. Episode 2, Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Yikes. What is this? Our not 14th. 12 Valentine's Day together?
Yeah.
I think so. Yes. Let's count it up.
No, 12.
Yeah. 5 years. 5 years dating. 7 years marriage.
Yeah. Wow. We've been married longer than we've been dating. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a milestone. Good job.
You're welcome.
Good for you. Good for you, bud.
Yeah, that's crazy. So 5. And of those 12, I've never received a gift.
Okay. I have a bone to pick. So Mike always complains.
It's giving double standards?
It's my birthday. It's not just Valentine's Day. My birthday's on Valentine's Day, so why would I get you a gift? Make it make sense.
Okay.
You know?
That's fine. I'll give you that.
Maybe if it wasn't my birthday, like, maybe.
Okay,
maybe a gift card.
Yes. A gift card. You're going to give me a gift card? That's just so thoughtful. But gift cards are great. I prefer a gift card over
that's
like a pointless, like a filler gift. I prefer a gift card over that.
That's a lot of Valentine's Days together.
It is. And I just feel like I keep getting better every year. I'm a good gift giver. Can you?
Yeah.
Can we agree?
Yeah, he is.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
So I was Mike and I were talking, and we were talking about like love languages, and we'll get into it like our next episode because I really want to like deep dive. But I was telling him how like for me, gift giving, that's not my it's not me. Like I don't like to give it. I think, and the reason why I was trying to break it down to myself, and I think it's because it's not my personal love language. Like, I don't like receiving gifts. So like when
Guys,
I don't truly.
we can stop the cap. I don't hear, guys.
No, like
hear
it's
this
not.
out.
It's not. Can I finish?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's not my number one love language, so it's hard for me to naturally be like, oh, I'm gonna get a gift or whatever.
I'm sorry. I don't know
What?
Bro, you literally just said I don't like receiving gifts.
I mean, I don't not. I don't care for it. Like, it's great when you gift me, and you are a really great gift giver. You're very intentional. And
I wish you would have said this sooner. There's no okay.
Anyways, can I finish?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So it's not like my natural instinct to
receive a gift.
No, to give gifts, because that's not how I like to receive love. I guess that's a better way to say it. That's like not my number one, way to receive love. But I'm trying to be more intentional about gift giving, and I think it's the principle. I think it's the thought that counts. It's not really like the gift, but it's like knowing the person, like taking the time out, being thoughtful. You know what I mean? So I'm working on it.
For sure. But let's talk about Valentine's Day. Let's not talk about your birthday. Yes, it's the same day, but this episode is not about your birthday. Valentine's Day, okay? All right, we've had 12 of them. Mm-hmm. Let's do this. Before we get into it, let's kind of give... strong. I'm like, so I got club sweats already. Club sweats already from this drink. But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's kind of give our viewers a little background if they're not familiar with us.
With our relationship.
Yeah, with our relationship. Okay. So like we said earlier, 5 years dating, 7 years marriage. We met in high school. Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Her life hasn't been the same since. We'll do this. How about you give like your perspective on how we first met and started dating.
Mm-hmm. Like a synopsis.
Sure.
If you will.
Yeah. Well, you do yours and then I'll tell everybody the truth. Go ahead.
Okay. So Mike and I didn't really hang out with the same like friend groups in high school. This is all I remember. I hardly remember anything from high school. Like,
sure.
But we hung out with different friend groups. Like, he was a basketball player, so he was always hanging out with the athletes. And I was hanging out with all like the choir people because I was in choir. I was hanging out with all like the Filipinos and whatever, like our group. And we had a mutual friend, and one day Mike's world changes, and he like is like, you know what, like there's this girl, her name's Rhea, and I'm gonna tell my friend to like hit me up, to let her know.
Are you telling
to put
your
in a
part
word?
Yeah.
This is your part through my eyes. So
okay,
he's like, like I've been dying to meet her. Like, she just seems like it, like she's it. You know what I mean? And like, just let her know, like, I think she's beautiful. And so my friend tells me like, oh yeah, like the homie Mike like thinks you're cute, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who?
Yours.
I was like, Mike, which one?
This is not what we
Which
rehearsed.
one?
This is
And then she was like, oh, Mike P. And I was like, okay, like I think I've heard of that name before.
Sure had heard of me. Oh my god.
And he tried. He really put in the effort, and I was like, I gotta give him a chance. Like, I can't. I was chilling. I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was like, oh, why not? And then went on our first date, and
bonus points. Where was our first date?
At the movie theaters.
Which movie theaters?
And what is it called?
Latitude and longitude coordinates.
Anyways.
Hurry. You don't remember?
It wasn't even a first date. It was like a group date. It was like I was hanging with my friends, and like,
guys, I'm not getting any credit in this story. I just want to let you know.
And it was all history from there. And his expectations were met.
All right. So you guys can see. Okay,
I don't want to hear this.
let's give the people the truth here, okay? Yes, let's fact check. Yes, we had mutual friends. Right? Yes. I think that's probably the only true statement of what you just said. We had a mutual friend. I did think you were really cute. I remember that. Yes, you were super cute. You were a freshman in high school, and I was a sophomore. But I used to tell everybody I was a senior. I don't know how they didn't know. so lame. I was so lame. But it worked because I was on varsity, and people believed it. But yeah, we had that mutual friend. Thought you were super cute. You were that choir girl. Matter of fact, that was like our first inside joke.
No, I don't want to talk. Those were so cringy. Let's not.
We used to have this inside joke. The way we flirted was, I wanted to meet this cute choir girl, but I would talk to Rhea about it. Like, hey, yo, I know this like cute choir girl, but she knew I was talking about her. And then she would say something similar about this super hot guy on the basketball team.
Mind you, this is the only way we could flirt because we had nothing in common. Like we really didn't know each other, but like we kind of vibed.
No, it was seamless though. It was super. We were friends at first,
and then we started talking.
Yeah,
like my sophomore year.
Talking, right? I don't know if kids call that these days. What are they called? Scamming?
Freaking?
What are talking? I don't know. Yeah, they don't say talking anymore.
Well, we were talking, and then this was like my sophomore year. You were a junior, and
Can I tell my story? You wanna just take over? You wanna? Yes. So we started talking. Yeah, and we just kind of hit it off. I always thought it was seamless. We were friends at first.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't help yourself.
Yeah.
The more you get to know me, the more you love me. Everybody.
Yeah, you were low key seed planning just because.
Oh, for sure.
Before we started dating,
and like, then I seed planted.
I remember. Yeah, and that too.
But yes, the rest is history. Okay.
Yeah, you would. So Mike would like walk me to class. This was when we just kind of knew each other. We were just acquaintances, and his like power move was like he would walk me to my class. We had the same class in the same quad, but our classes were across from each other. He'd walk me to my class. Yeah.
For fifth period.
He would open my door, and then that's it. And then he would go to his class. And I feel like
seamless.
Yeah, I feel like even though we weren't really thinking like that of each other at that time, that kind of like seed planted, because like I feel like no guy's ever done that for me or did gestures like that without wanting something back.
Yeah, without like openly trying to get at you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that was already like, okay, like.
Yeah, I couldn't be too forward. I mean, you barely made the lineup at that point in time. So, but yes, the rest is history. And that's a little bit of background about us and how we started. Started in high school, and then we kind of just been doing our thing. Yeah.
But we did a lot of life in between that.
A lot of life. A lot of in-betweens.
Yes, if you will.
I will.
You did.
But speaking of in-betweens, let's do this. How about this? Let's talk about... so 5 years of dating. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you this. 5 years of dating, what do you think for that long-term dating type was something that held down that relationship? Because I feel like a lot of long-term relationships are difficult and challenging in general. Mm-hmm. But for us in particular, what do you think was
like what worked for us?
Yeah, what worked for us?
That's a great question.
Of course.
I think for us, and I think what's super important was that we always put each other's best interests first, even if it meant like it wasn't the most comfortable situation for us as a couple.
Yes.
And I think that was a big part of like why it worked, you know?
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and that's okay. That's what your early 20s are for. You know what I mean? You make that decision, and that's okay, whichever way you want to go. But for us, I felt like, you know, I wanted it enough to make sure like there was that space of, and it was genuine too, because I genuinely loved you, and I wanted you to not be held back with like any, with any decisions you made. I still wanted you to have an experience, or have the experience of being independent, going to college, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Which is a big thing.
Yeah.
At that time, right? Because by the time we had made it like official boyfriend girlfriend, I was a senior, you were a junior, so we were just right in that transition of like choosing college. Am I going to go local? Am I going to go out of state? Okay, yeah.
And it wasn't easy as much as I wanted to be like, nah, why would you go out of state? Like, just stay here, live at your parents' house, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's easier for us. Like, I always bit my tongue, and I knew that wasn't fair, and that was okay. It was hard, but you know, I always made sure that whatever decisions we made, it was for our own best interests and not us as a couple. And, you know, I think that's a big deal. You say, like, you either grow together or you grow apart.
Yes. That's actually my point. That's what I wanted to. I think that's definitely something in our relationship, in that dating phase, was like a very key factor. Because just to give it context, right? So we said we were in high school, senior, junior, getting ready for college. You had got accepted to UNLV, right?
Yeah, and then you got accepted in USF, San Francisco.
Yes. And I don't think, if I remember correctly, we had presented that like information to each other, and it was a very simple, do it, go for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I mean, obviously you're dating. Our relationship started. We had already been friends for a few years, and it was just like, I don't want you to go.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And then that's a huge thing too, being able to identify that at that age, because I mean, in your 20s, early 20s or late high school years, like that's all you want. Nobody cares. Everyone's worried about is like what they want at that time, what they're doing, how they look, whatever, so on and so forth. So I think being able to put each other's, I guess you'd say, like well-being in front of our immediate wants and needs, just for, you know, just because of that we care for that individual and we want the best for that individual. I think that's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, that's also a way of showing each other that you love, like truly, that it's love, you know what I mean? And it's not just like codependency. I mean, there were times where obviously it's easy to be like codependent on each other, but
especially at that age.
I also didn't want you to have like any sort of like resentment or any sort of like, oh, what if, you know what I mean? And it would all fall back on me or because of our relationship. Like, that would kill me. Like, that would suck, you know?
Yeah, not making a big decision like going out of state for college just before. And it didn't seem like, oh, just for my girlfriend at the time, right? It was obviously a bigger deal. It was like our world at the time. But yeah, I think that hindsight and really just caring for that individual and as a person, as opposed to as like your counterpart or your significant other, is a huge thing. And I think, and you brought up, you know, what we used to say, I think, which is the point I want to bring up. I think that really, really helped us in our relationship those years, was that we used to say it all the time: you either grow together or you grow apart. And I think that oh my gosh, it's such a crucial concept that we held it down for each other throughout our early 20s. Because I mean, it's your 20s, it's so pivotal. You go through so much, and you're doing so much growth, so many experiences.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're early 20s, probably have our first job, so we got a little money in our pocket, buying some new things, probably the most independence we've ever had in our lives at that time. So having that autonomy to, you know, not go to class, hang out, go to parties.
That's why.
Not drink though, because you're not 21. That'd be irresponsible. But
who has fake IDs? That's not okay.
Or real IDs of just other people that look like you.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So like during that really pivotal point in your life, and you could really say that through all your 20s, right? Early 20s, mid to late 20s. And even now that I'm in my early 30s, still very much so.
Yikes.
That
Yikes. I'm still 29, so
yes, but yeah. So as anytime you're going through those like big changes and transitions, with somebody together, super important to keep the concept of you either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah.
And it's totally possible to grow in our own way alongside each other. And I think our relationship for sure is a testament to that. But
it's not as easy as it sounded. Like we broke up like 2 times, like in the midst of all this. Honestly, we've had like our blowouts. Like we've had to like figure it out in, during the whole thing. But
yeah, but definitely a concept of that. And I think like I would add even to that, and I think we did a great job about it, which I think also in our present day might be a harder concept to maintain is preservation. Like really preserving, like you gotta, if you got a good thing, you gotta take care of it, right? I always think about it I always think about like the like your summer radio jam, right? Like as soon as you hear it, it's it. I think ours might have been like Calvin Harris or something, but like
probably
every time you turn on the radio, you hear it, right? You hear it the first time, it sounds great, everything's wonderful. You're at your little honeymoon phase with it. No matter what you're doing, you're at the gym, you're at work, doing homework, you're listening to that song, right? And it's constant. And then eventually you start getting tired of it. Eventually you start kind of losing that value in that song, and then it turns to be a little bit annoying that now every radio station you put on, you're hearing that song, right? So I like to think of it like really preservation is like taking time away and not always listening to your favorite song type deal. Ooh. Not always listening to that radio hit every single chance you get, knowing that you do like it, knowing you do want to hear it, knowing you want to get a little down with it. But really just kind of you're taking the time to, filter that, preserve it, and then really allow it to mean something for a little bit longer and still be able to maintain that value.
Yeah, we didn't move in with each other as well until we got married.
Yes,
that's like a way we preserved. That's like one facet of it.
Love that part about that early part of our marriage is a big step, and it didn't feel like it was just the same thing like the last 5 years. It's still very new, still very exciting. And we were able to do that because we preserved that part of our relationship. We didn't preserve all parts considering the situation. But
what do you mean?
We'll get into it. But so I really think that's like a really important thing. And it's like I said, the only reason why I say present day it might seem a little more challenging is because there's so much about instant gratification with what we do now, right? Download speeds got to be quick. Swipe right, swipe left, like next onto the next.
What you know about swiping left and swiping right? I
have friends that like.
What you know about that?
And then I've seen them, and I'm like, bro, that's a little, I'm lying to it. It's not my thing. I watch MTV and stuff, babe. I'm hip.
What? I'm a hip. Oh my god!
But that's just something people say. I don't know what that means. But yeah, like it very much is so about instantaneous and instant gratification. So you could kind of lose.
That's
easy
true.
To lose sight of that.
Yeah.
But I think what's really great. Earlier you mentioned,
like making sure your partner is making decisions for their own best interests, and not as for their relationship.
Okay, yeah.
Or for the counterpart.
Putting your partner first in terms of like making, big life changes and moves like that. Yes. And then also, like we mentioned, growing together or growing apart, right? And then, of course, preserving, a good thing. Yeah. Saving things for later instead of always indulging in your early wants and needs. And I think like all those like concepts and ideas in the early dating really like come together and really form like that the bigger idea of marrying your best friend. Like it really speaks true to like those little bits and pieces. As you do that, will really build up and establish like a foundation for later on in the big picture. What you would want to do is marry your best friend, no matter how, even as cliche as that sounds. That concept becomes very easy when you have these types of building blocks. Putting yourself first. Yeah. Establishing that like ride or die type relationship.
Because you would want that for a friend, not even just like a romantic relationship. Like you would want the best for your best friend, and it kind of works the same way. So.
Yeah. And then you kind of just put the bow on top with like actually having
Mm-hmm.
you know that intimate part of that relationship all together, and then making that vow in the marriage portion. So I think that's really, 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 really great. But now here we are.
Here we are.
5 years. We had that transition. We had those things to hold us down.
Yeah. And then Mike like decided to just trap me. So that was cool. Just kidding.
It's funnier if you know us, but if they don't know us,
You know, all my hopes and dreams just like flushed down the toilet at this point. Just kidding.
Oh man. We can laugh about it afterward.
Yeah, you can't laugh. You can't heal if you can't laugh, right?
An excuse to have a crude sense of humor, yes. But yeah, so we did that, and we had 5 years dating, successfully transitioned into that early marriage, that marriage phase. But in the meantime, we actually had a few transitions, not just marriage. We transitioned into parenthood.
Yeah.
Parenthood, into marriage. And then, like we said earlier, we moved in together.
Let me ask you, how was that transition from going to just boyfriend and girlfriend into stepping into the role of fiance, husband, and also father? How was that transition for you?
I think it's pretty safe to say, even before the kids, I've always been daddy. So
That's facts.
that's
You're not wrong.
Thank you. Probably the second true thing you've said this entire episode. But no. In all honesty, as on paper, as like challenging of a situation, it seems, or it could have been. It was a pretty seamless transition for me, and I'll explain. I grew up around kids.
Yeah.
And I've had great relationships with my nieces and nephews, and I participated like immensely in like the raising of them.
Yeah.
I was in elementary school giving my nieces a bath in the sink. You know what I mean? Changing diapers wasn't a thing. And then all the way up until junior high and high school, I was, taking care of my nieces and nephews on Friday nights, Saturday nights, so on and so forth. So I think
that's how I thought like it was too good to be true, because like I'd always hit him up like when we were dating and be like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? He was like, oh, I'm just staying home babysitting my niece, we're just watching a movie. And I was like, no way I
didn't have a choice, but I have a choice in the matter. But I don't regret it. It was fun. I loved it. But yeah, no, like, so that transitioning into parenthood, it wasn't very challenging for me personally. It was different, obviously, being from like uncle,
to
like your favorite Uncle Mikey versus, Daddy Mikey. But no, like that transition was like I said, it wasn't too bad. So it kind of just fit in, and I was excited in general, especially when we found out it was a boy, that we were gonna have pretty much our own little team. As far as like boyfriend to husband, that transition also I would say wasn't very challenging either, and I will attribute most of that to you though, because really, our relationship at that point in time was really seamless. We were friends at first, and it just time flies when you're having fun type deal. We were doing our thing, allowing each other to, like, you were still hanging out with your friends, I was still hanging out with my own group of friends. You were working, I was working. Like, we had a very healthy balance in that regard. So like for me, when in these types of relationships and my friendships and stuff, I keep my circle like pretty small, and I'm pretty ride or die for my group. So when it came to like taking that next step in responsibility and ownership over our relationship and the things we do in our lives, I was totally up for it.
Yeah.
I took a lot of pride in the idea that, oh, this is my team now.
Yeah.
Like, we have a kid, we're getting married, like, Like it's up to me to lead this
Mm-hmm.
in our dynamic. That's just how the dynamic of our relationship was.
Was it scary for you, like knowing, like, you know, you're the, like, this is you're, I'm not genderizing it, or like it's not like, you know, but like, you know, you're taking control of, like, you're the leader of the family, you're the, supposedly, right, like you're
No, I am.
the
It's like
supposedly
I am.
in
No,
some
no,
facets,
it was, yeah,
you
100%.
are. But you know
yeah.
what I mean, like
I don't
taking all
lead
that,
in a
taking-
toxic masculine way.
no, or else we wouldn't be here, y'all. But like, you know what I mean.
No, I wasn't.
Like, was it
wasn't.
scary for you?
It wasn't. I used to with Tita Boy, I used to say it all the time, like, oh,
My uncle.
yeah, her
Shout
uncle. I used to make the joke all the time, and they're like, oh, it's a lot easier when you ain't got a choice, right? And that, in that regard, it was, this is my family, this is my wife, this is my kid. Failure's not an option. I'm not even worried about it, because it's not gonna happen in any regard, because whatever it is, I'm gonna do it. And that also, that confidence in knowing that our relationship and that those changes were gonna, like, we were gonna see it through, was it was a reflection of the confidence I had in us, in our relationship. So I knew if I did my part, our part was already good. So it was just a matter of me getting the job done.
Yeah.
You know. So and I mean, I'm not trying to sound like, oh, like, you know, it was easy and I didn't have my moments of doubt, but definitely going into it, it was just like, nah, let's take care of it.
Yeah.
This is us.
And it's crazy because we obviously, like, we went through this season together, you know, of finding out we were pregnant, getting married, moving in, still trying to figure out our careers, still trying to figure out school, all that, you know, we went through that together. But like, my experience was so different than Mike's experience. And I want to shine a light on the other side of that, because I feel like us as women, we romanticize the whole, like, I'm going to marry the love of my life. I'm going to have beautiful kids. I'm going to have a house. And I do have that, you know what I mean? But like, what's real is the transition into that. And I feel like people don't really talk about or think about how it's a lot. Like, it's a lot to step into, and it's a lot. And I was only 22, which is a really, really pivotal time in, I feel like, any young woman's life, you know. Sure. And that's why, like, that's the time where you kind of figure, like, get to know yourself and step into who you are as a woman. But for me, I was stepping into having to figure out how to be a mom, having to figure out how to take care of someone else besides me, having to figure out, like, what it means to be a wife, how to be a good wife to you, what are your needs, you know what I mean? So I was giving myself, like, that season was a season of, like, giving what I had. Yeah, selflessness 100%.
And like a true,
and you know, I didn't think twice about it. Like, I knew that that's what I had to do, but I also didn't have, like, having to do that, I didn't have a strong sense of who I was yet. So I felt,
what 22
exactly. So I feel like I put all my value into what I could do for you and for my kid, and not like what I could do for myself. I didn't even learn that until like late into my 20s. You know what I mean? So,
and I love that you said that, because it really circles back on what we said earlier. Your first point of really, like, putting your partner first, really, like, speaks true to what you're saying right now with, like, your transition of, you know, being like that time of selflessness. And you know, and it's crazy how, just like right now, it's full circle, just how it really serves as a foundation for, like, success in our relationship and in our marriage. With that already, with just your example, and then just to kind of give this context, for Rhea's situation, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first diaper you've ever changed was Liam's.
Yeah.
Our first.
Literally,
right?
I was never around kids. I mean, the only time I was around kids was when I met your, you know, nieces and nephews. Yeah, I didn't even know if I wanted my own kids at that point. I wasn't even thinking about that, you know. So it was it was kind of jarring having one of your own, or stepping into that season when you've never even thought about, you know, that season of your life yet. You're still trying to figure out, like, you know, where you want to go to college, or like, whatever.
You had just got into another college.
Yeah. I literally got into like a 4-year college that I was working really hard to get into. But I think for me, like I truly never cared about. I was never a college girly, if you will. I was never a degree girly. Like I think I was just
degree girly.
I didn't care. What? Honestly, it was a principle. I just wanted to prove to myself that, like, hey, even though I'm not like the most like, you know, college driven person, like if I can get into this university, like that was it. I didn't need to really go there.
I respect that.
So when I found out I was pregnant that summer that I got accepted, I was like, all right, that's fine.
No, I was good with me.
I know. And then Mike, to help himself feel better, made me go to the college orientation. And I was like, for what?
I didn't make you. It was just see the opportunity through.
No, at that point, bro, at that point, my mind was already like, all right, so like how, like, what's my baby registry? Like at that point, I wasn't thinking about freaking college. I didn't care.
Yeah. I just wanted the opportunity on the option on the table. That's all.
Yeah, to help you sleep at night. That's fine. But yeah, that all being said, like it, you know, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Like that was definitely a season, and I don't care even like what stage you're in as a woman. Like when you step into the role of being a mom, when you step into the role of being a wife, it's a lot of denying yourself. And if you don't think so, then you're in for a treat, you know, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of I was working through a lot during that time. And I was just blessed enough that you're patient with me and that you kind of rode those waves with me. You didn't judge me.
No, yeah.
You know, for the feelings that I did have, you didn't take it personal.
No.
And that's a big deal, you know? Yeah. Get you a man that won't judge you. I don't know.
I will say this for the guys out there. You will not realize how useless you are until the early stages of a baby.
Yeah.
Oh my. Just it's insane. Like you're right. It's like the selflessness that you have to go through those stages of, you know, breastfeeding and staying up with the baby. And like, I mean, I would wake up sometimes, right? But like I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
That's not what I.
You gotta wake up. I'm sure it was so hard.
I had to wake up and look at you do what you needed to do, and then I had to roll over and fall back asleep instantly. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you know, it's a double standard for.
Anyways,
but no, yeah, it is really an eye-opening thing, and the whole idea, the whole parenting structure, it really is about selflessness.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy. It really is crazy. But moving on to something I really wanted to talk about. 5 years dating. We're now married 7 years. That's crazy. 7 years.
Yeah.
I can't, you know, I think the craziest thing about it. Yes. I think the craziest thing about it is it doesn't feel like 7 years. Like up here, I'm like still 25-year-old Mike.
Really?
Chilling,
I feel like
hanging out.
I feel like I'm like 40.
Get out of town. No. Like this is the reason why I keep getting hurt. Like I think I could still play basketball like I'm 25.
Right.
And then my back's like, no.
Right. I think you think you're going like super fast, like to drive the ball.
Yeah, that's messed up.
But like
I could say that. You can't say that. But really, it's slow motion.
I've watched like 2 of your games.
The whole time we've known each other, yes, you've watched 2 of my games. But yeah, no, like it's crazy. But the question that I wanted to ask you was 7 years. I mean, that's something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something for the books. What is the biggest lesson or lesson you're most thankful for?
Yeah.
That marriage has taught you?
The biggest lesson that marriage has taught me,
yes,
is that, oh man, getting married. No, let me rephrase that. Cut that part. The biggest lesson I've learned in marriage is, getting married is not going to fix the issues you had with yourself before you got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had to learn that the hard way.
Yes.
It's not just a bandage you put over, whatever it is that you kind of like tucked under the blanket, all like the demons that you're hiding. That ring, it's not gonna change it. It's not gonna fix your issues. And that was a hard pill to swallow for me, because like for me, I really struggled with like insecurity all of my teenage, all of my 20s. And for me, I was just like, not once I'm married, once I got him secure, once I got him like on the bag, once my name is on, once we signed those papers, like I'm good. Like I'm going to be sad. Like I'm going to be secure in our relationship. I'm going to be secure in myself, but no.
Like as if there's like a switch that's kind of like, insecurity out the window, right? No.
Because guess what? That bleeds into your marriage. That bleeds into how we communicate. That bleeds into like our issues that we have.
Yeah.
It's because of things that I didn't fix in the past. I'm not saying like you have to be 100 when you get married. Like you have to have it all figured out. Like no. But there's some things that you need to work out before you bring someone else on, and before you like share your life. That like it's crazy.
Or have a partner that you're confident and comfortable with to be able to navigate those problems as if you would do on your own, in like a safe way, a safe place, and you don't feel judged and you don't feel like bad about going through that. Yeah. Right.
Getting knocked up, a marriage isn't gonna fix that. Like a marriage isn't going to fix everything that goes into that.
Wow.
It might think, and, I come from a very, like conservative family, like a small church, like a small, and like a big Filipino family, but like we all are kind of integrated. We were all kind of integrated growing up in like a Christian church, like super conservative. And I remember when I got pregnant or I got knocked up, like at 22, like it was like everyone's world changed. Everyone's like this is like the first time it's ever happened in anyone's world, in at least my inner circle. And so it was a big deal, and like a lot of things that were coming my way were just like, okay, so when are you guys getting married? What I mean? You have the baby, when are you getting married? Like let's figure it out. Like, and I was young at that time. Like I was going through so many things. Like we were going through so many things, so many like external voices. And I truly wish that, and I'm not saying like I don't regret, getting married when we did and stuff like that. I don't say like I regret that or when we did, but it's getting married isn't going to make the problem better.
Yes. No.
Because honestly, like I'm going to be 100% real. And I think a lot of people need to hear this, especially if you come from like a conservative background. I know there's like the whole thing of like, not living with each other when you're not married or whatever, not having a baby and what, like outside of marriage. But let me tell you, like if someone were to tell me like the reality of what it meant to step into being a wife and at the same time raising a baby. And I tell you this all the time, like if someone were to tell me like that's the reality of it, this is what you're going to have to go through, these are going to be your responsibilities, and you're going to have to do this all at 22, we probably wouldn't have gotten married at that age. I tell you this all the time, because it's a lot.
Oh, for sure. And I really think
like I just needed to know that you were down for me. I just needed to know that you were going to be around. I just need to know that you're going to provide and get through this season with me, and that's it. And that would have been good enough.
And I think that's it just really brings it back to like that foundation of dating, and then like carrying that into whatever next stage that your relationship follows. And that was also something I said to your family when that was all happening, was like, because there was a lot about that, right? Had you mentioned about like spirituality and that journey and all that, and I understood like the concern, obviously, of what was happening,
Yeah, of
and
course.
like how that affected the family, and it really came down to, and this is what I said, if you're worried about Rhea being taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take care of it. I'm here. Like, I'll take care of that. As for anything else, the whole
Yeah.
faith journey and marriage and all that, I was just like, that's something that we have to work out, Rhea and I. Like, that has nothing to do with how you feel and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't disrespect or anything.
Yeah.
And they were coming on strong, and I also understood like where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there were some good points to it, right? Like,
Yes.
you know, a part of it was like, you know, you guys, this happened, you know, and so now for you, and I think this is where you were getting a lot of the pressure, was like, you can't have, you need to make it right. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too type deal. You know, you can't like knock on my daughter but not have that commitment or not have that full, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, it makes sense. I mean, it's understood.
I'm not arguing about it.
Right. But also too, it's like on your side of things, like it was more of like, no one's forcing you
No.
to marry this girl. No one's
'cause it
forcing you to
doesn't
step into it.
If you're talking
right
about
away.
like priorities,
Yeah.
the priority was to make sure that we had a place to live, to make sure
Yeah.
that there was food on the table, we had insurance, and that we were getting situated. Yes. And then of course, obviously, marriage. I mean, so it's just on the list of things in that moment and at that time. Was that the highest of concern? No, I needed to make sure you were healthy. I needed to make sure we had insurance to make sure that we could go to the appointments and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think that's crazy. Yeah. So your point or your lesson was, just to recap, was, marriage isn't a Band-Aid.
Yeah. It's not a quick fix. It's not going to be a quick fix to your problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that's great too, because with just the dynamic of our relationship, we're always trying to work out kind of our own personal little things, and we help each other navigate those situations. And for the most part, we do it like in a safe space without judgment. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the insecurity part, even for myself, was like a big thing for that early stages in our even our dating and marriage. So. And it's still something that we continue to work out, but
yeah, definitely. Well, what about you? What are the lessons that you've learned?
Big lesson.
Yeah.
Biggest lesson learned is also a lesson that I am very, very, very thankful for. And that is, balance is key. And I'll explain myself. Speaking of heartburn, oh my gosh.
So bad.
Oh my gosh, I got hella heartburn. Need some water in this mug. Yes, so biggest lesson learned, like I said, balance is key. And it's more so in regard to the man that I am trying to be, like the father that I'm trying to be, and the husband that I aspire to be. And then just to kind of give that context, I spent a lot of like my upbringing. I mean, I'm the youngest of 5 boys, 7 kids, right? So the male figures in my life were very tough men.
Yeah.
Little emotion, very much so about get the job done, no excuses. Emotions, if it's not helping you, like, don't bother with it. Type of like interactions. So I spent a lot of my time around that. It's a very, and naturally, socially, you kind of have that hard shell, and then you're always like trying to be tough and all that. But like, you have that with your upbringing, and then I sit here and I like really just kind of reflect, on life. And if anything, life and time has shown me, all like my best and most cherished moments are around people that I love. So it's kind of like that contrast of like upbringing in this type of hard, tough environment or type of relationships. And then like here I am now in this very much so loving relationship and with kids and family and friends that very supportive and not necessarily, you know, scared to show emotion. So finding that balance of that in my life, I'm very, very thankful for that this marriage has taught me. And to further explain it, like really when it comes to balance and what I'm aspiring for is you don't want to be so tough that it becomes, you know, toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But then you don't also want to lean on your emotion so much that you can't find consistency. You don't want to be so driven on your future and your plans that you forget to be present, right? And then you don't want to be so satisfied or complacent that you forget to water the grass that you're standing to allow yourself and your partner to grow, right? So it's just finding this balance and understanding that in my personal experience and in my life, that as a man, you're not just going to be one thing, right? As a father, as a brother, as a best friend, all of it, you have to learn to be as dynamic as you can and then balance all of that at once. You know, you can be a leader and be a servant faithfully. And and understanding that doesn't make you any less of a man in certain contexts is key. And I think that was something that was very hard to realize. But I attribute that lesson to really our marriage because like you created this space in our relationship that really showed me that I can be that I can open up and not be judged, that I can have my doubts, show my emotions, and still very much stand upright and lead this family and our marriage where it needs to be and guide it where it needs to be. And I mean, we mentioned 12 years together, and I think like the biggest thing to that is you've seen me at my worst, and you've seen me, you know, at my best. And I don't think I've said it before, but I've never felt a difference in the way you love me throughout all that. And it really does like speak to that space that I was allowed to be in and grow in and really like aspire to be this great guy, husband, father, without fear of judgment, without fear of failure, because I knew you'd be with me either way. And having that support in that space really, really, really attributed to all that. And that balance is just so key. Like you can't be the super tough guy all the time. Right. And it's so much it's so much easier to be that, to have that hard shell and to not be worried about emotional range and dynamic relationships and having tough conversations. It's so much easier to be that version, that one person, type of person. But to really take on that, you know, that challenge of being dynamic and being able to pivot when you need to and adjust and have that emotional awareness, but at the same time being tough enough to get back up on your feet and grind when you need to, get back up on your feet when you get knocked down. It's really key to where we've gone in our journey.
Truly, there's strength in vulnerability. Like watching you be able to verbalize when you're having a hard time, verbalize when you're being challenged, verbalize when you're being, you know, when you're feeling sad or, you know, whatever it is. That's strength, you know, tapping into that vulnerability.
Sure.
And that's where you find love, is in vulnerability, right? Because I feel like even for me, like when we were still dating, that's when I knew I truly loved you, is because you were not afraid to get there with me. You know, it took some time, obviously.
It took
a lot of unpacking, but you know, that's when that kind of like clicked for me, that unlocked, because I was that shows strength. And then the way watching you work through it, and then watching you, you know, build that resilience, that's like another type of love. Like that's real love.
For sure.
And I'm very glad that we are raising boys who can have a father figure who's not afraid to say I'm sorry, who's not afraid to voice what your emotions are, or pinpoint what their emotions are, and let them know it's okay to have big emotions, but still have, you know, but still can draw a line, can still help them build resilience, can still help them figure it out, you know, in the midst of having big feelings. Yeah. And that's why I'm confident, and I'm, you know, I can't even put into words how blessed I am that we have boys. You know,
they're all right.
They're gonna treat your daughters right. They're gonna treat your daughters right. Mason's
yeah,
he's kind of sketchy. Mason's a little sketchy. Mason, yeah.
Being Mason's parent is ghetto.
He's ghetto. Yeah. It's ghetto.
Stop.
All the writings on my wall.
Let's wrap it up with this. We've given some insight on our journey, early dating, into our marriage. What about for just relationships in general, or maybe early marriage? What is some advice that we could offer them?
Oh my God, I have heartburn. Did you hear that? Yes. Did you hear my colon?
We're not gonna edit that. We're just gonna keep it. How about this?
Anyways,
don't do it.
Yeah. First of all, don't do it.
No.
It's a trap. Second of all, no, but I think the biggest, or the best advice I could give is to keep your promises and vows. And it seems like a really simple concept, but at least in our relationship, you know, the vows that you had wrote me, the promises that you have told me, and, you know, from the beginning till now, your follow through on those gives me confidence in our relationship. And your follow through, you know, helps all my inhibitions fall off. And I think that's like a big deal. And it's not always a straight line, right? It's not always like you're going to get it right the first time. But when there's intention, when I know you're working towards like a goal, and vice versa, with making sure those promises are met to each other, that's what makes me confident in our marriage. I was watching a podcast the other day, and this quote was insane.
You were watching a different podcast other than ours?
Podcast, yeah. Basically, everything I said, I copied from that. I'm just kidding.
Let me end quote.
Yeah. So, the guy, I think he was like a former pastor. He was saying that everything you do know about the person, is what got you to the altar. So everything that you experience with a person, everything you think you know about the person, that's what got you to the altar. But everything you are going to say I do to is what you don't know about that person. Yes. Right? And that's why there's such like a high divorce rate, I think. And so basically he finishes with like, the commitment you're making is not what you do know about the person, but it's what you don't know about the person. Wow. Right?
Wow.
Because it's like,
I love that.
Yeah. It's like, I knew you and I said yes to you from everything that we've gone through, but I don't exactly know you as a husband. I don't exactly know you as, you know what I mean? That next step. And that's where the keeping the promises come into place. Promises. K3LW.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why it's important to keep your promises and to keep your vows. So that's all you have is your word.
Everything you know about that person is what got you to the altar. But you're saying I do to everything that you don't know.
Yeah.
So
and
good.
if that's not like the most real
Hot takes.
Yeah, if that's like
Hot
not the
freaking
most real
takes.
thing about marriage, about what a marriage truly is, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
that's real life.
that is great.
Yeah.
Oh, that is rich. I love that. But yeah, that is so much part of life, and especially doing life with a partner is just going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just going with the flow and just trusting what you have. And then not being scared to take that next step. I think that's, and there's a beauty in that unknown, right? There's a really a great risk.
Yeah.
And it goes in
That
part
you're
of being able to love fearlessly. Because yes, you can get hurt. Yes, you might get hurt. More than likely you will at times.
Even in your marriage.
Yes. And that's such a good quote.
I know.
And it's facts.
Yeah.
It's like a real take on marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
That's a realist is gonna get.
For my piece of advice, I think it's really important to look at your relationship and take this advice. And it's anybody's advice, 'cause people love giving advice, right? Timing is everything, guys. Timing is everything. Because we always want to talk about communication, right? We always want to talk about changes. How can we improve ourselves? How can we improve our marriage? But at the end of the day, if you're fighting to get food on the table, if you're trying to figure out, how you're going to get to work the next day, like none of this matters.
No, absolutely not.
None of this matters. We had a period of time in our relationship that it was really like grind mode.
Yeah.
It was, and we weren't thinking about how are we going to improve our relationship in terms of emotional awareness and so on and so forth. So I think it's super important that when you hear things like this, and then you reflect back onto your relationships that you have, like you really have to understand that timing is everything. It's just in your hierarchy of needs, right? If you don't have a roof over your head, or if that isn't secured, if your next meal isn't secured, like these things don't matter yet. And that's not that they don't matter at all. It's just the timing. It doesn't matter yet. Like worry about what you got to do, get where you need to be, and then let's take it from there. And I think it was such a crazy transition from our grind mode of like going to school, work, all that jazz, and then kind of like settling in. And it almost seemed like this part of the work was harder than that physical
100%.
grind, getting the no sleep, just up for work, up for school, and then working this out and working those unpacking those issues is like, oh my gosh, I think that's a lot of the times harder than what that grind mode for sure. But yeah, you always want to keep it in context. Don't feel bad or measure yourself against other couples and some of this other advice that you hear. Everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's on their own pace. So always put that into context when you will reflect on your relationship and change and things you want to improve. There's a time, and it's just important that you take that step when the time comes. Yeah. But you also don't wait for that time to prepare. Just prepare on the way. Yeah. But I want to say for sure, alongside of that is continue to grow in your relationship. It was super important, like I mentioned earlier, the early dating part of it, but even more so in those long-term relationships, early stage of marriage, few years into marriage, to continue to grow in your relationship. That means, and what does that mean and how does that look? Having tough conversations, right? Learning yourself, and then learning how you can improve in areas for yourself that'll help your marriage in the end, right? Because we don't change for other people. It's just not a realistic and sustainable way of changing. So I think that if you continue to grow individually, that your relationship will grow exponentially, as long as you do so, as we said earlier, growing together and not growing apart. I think that's super important. Having those tough conversations, and just realizing as you continue to grow, it's a choice, right? Just like it is, just like love. Love is a choice, and it's a constant everyday choice to choose love and it's a constant everyday choice to choose to try.
Yeah.
Right. Choose to admit your faults. Choose to admit where your areas of growth are and your opportunities of growth are, and then a choice to work it out and to continue to work it out.
Yep. I don't have much to work out though. So.
Oh my God.
I mean, but I get it. I'm kidding.
And then realizing the denial. It's a very important, successful part of marriage.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up, because again, like, we didn't have these conversations until as of recent, you know what I mean? But I feel like just the season that we were just grinding, and that there was like a mutual understanding, like, I'm going to take care of you, you're going to take care of me.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point, because it was,
and that's how we showed our love.
That was like the foundation of it.
Yeah.
Like, we just knew we had each other, and then we trusted each other, and we also trusted each other to in our relationship and to do our part.
Yes.
Which was really the most that we could ask of each other at that time, because it was tough. Like, the situation was tough in general. So,
and all we could do was just show up for each other every single day, and that's what we did. And then
that's kind of how I live my life. I just show up and things just get taken care of.
Really? You show up and the laundry's not taken care of.
Oh, guys, hot takes.
You show up and those dishes ain't done.
Oh my God. One day. Oh my God.
One day. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Just like what Mike didn't do.
Oh.
Wrap it up. And we want to thank you guys so much for listening in. I hope what we had to say to you guys, will resonate and kind of give you just an understanding of our marriage and what marriage looks like. And, again, we
what not to do.
Yeah.
No, it's
Don't
great.
do it.
Don't, stop. No, we're good. We're all right. We figured something out. We did something.
I'm dope. But
we appreciate you guys. Every like, every follow, every subscription, every listen. We appreciate you guys joining this journey with us. Episode 2, part 1 is a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. We did it.
Stay tuned for part 2. We're going to have some fun guests.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about all things relationships, all things
red flags,
all things dusty men, all things dating in this
giving bitter.
All things dating in this climate. And it should be fun. So yeah. Thanks guys. We'll see you next time.
All Seasons Media. We out.
Bye.